welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sublimate a frosted glass tumbler using a tumbler press. A couple months ago, I posted a beginner's guide to using a tumbler press, and I tried making a frosted tumbler just like this, and it didn't turn out so great. So I wanted to make a dedicated video for this. You do need a specific sublimation tumbler to be able to add sublimation ink to these. I'll leave a link to the one I'm using in my description box. I want to show you one of the mistakes I made with my other tumbler. As you can see, it's very faded on the top and bottom. That's because it curves. To fix this, I needed to make sure my design didn't go along that curve at all. So I measured my tumbler and forgot to film it, but I just made sure to measure the flat part. Now I'm in Cricut Design Space and I'm going to make a guide from those measurements that I took. I'll click on my shapes and I will grab a square. Then I'll come up here and change it to guide. The measurements that I got was 9.375 for the width. I just measured around the whole diameter of the tumbler. For my height, I measured 5 inches. I'm going to upload my design. I thought this would be super cute for those teachers out there. Now I want to just line this up inside my guide. Also, I can't believe that school is starting so soon. My son will be going into 4th grade and my daughter is starting kindergarten. When I line this up, I want the edge of the design really close to my guide because I don't want there to be a big space. I want this to be wrapped totally around the tumbler. So I'm going to move it pretty close to that line, and then I'll just make this just a little bit bigger. I'm going to highlight over both of these. I'll select Align Center just to kind of get a better idea of how this looks. I feel like that might be a little bit too big. I'm just going to make it just the tiniest bit smaller. Okay, the apple was kind of on the line there, so I think that looks a little bit better. And there's a little bit of space on the top and bottom, which is great because I just really want to make sure that it's going to be totally flat against the tumbler. Now I'm ready to print this. I'll click on Make It. I'm not going to mirror my design because I have my sublimation printer settings set up to mirror. I'll hit Continue, then I'll hit Send to Printer. You also don't have to use Cricut Design Space for this. I also really like to use Canva for my sublimation images. But I'm going to turn my bleed off. That will cause a fuzzy border that you don't want. And I will turn on my system dialog. Then I'll hit print. I have it set to my sublimation printer in my last use settings. For my last use settings, I will show you what I have here. This is what I always have my sublimation printer set to. I'm also going to select my color matching. I have my Cosmos ink set up as well. Then I'll hit print. I'm using a sub paper to print my sublimation ink on, and I forgot to film me printing it, so I am slacking on that today. But here's what it looks like after it's printed. I just take my scissors and cut around my design and just get rid of those black Cricut registration marks. You can see the ruler and a couple of the paper clips are blue. When you press it, it will be green like it is on the computer. I turn my heat press on and I hit set. It's already set to 356, which is the temperature that I want. So I hit set again, then I set my time. I set my time all the way to 280 seconds. This is what my little pamphlet said that came with the heat press for any glass tumblers. Before heating this up, you do want to set your tumbler in the tumbler press and test it out with the knobs to make sure you have the correct pressure. I forgot to do that, so I'll show you doing that later. I clean my tumbler with rubbing alcohol. You really want to do this because the sublimation ink is infusing into the tumbler, and if there's any specks of dirt or anything like that on it, it just won't infuse correctly. Now I'm ready to add my sublimation paper. As you can see, I'm making sure it's right in the center and not against those curves at all. You also want to pull that paper as tight as possible against the tumbler. Once I do that, I add a piece of my heat resistant tape. Then I go in and add the tape along the entire border of the paper. You just really want to make sure the paper is totally flat against the tumbler. I mention this tape dispenser a lot, but it makes my life so much easier. When you turn the knob, it automatically cuts the tape for you, so it's just really, really cool. Once that's done, I add butcher paper. You want to do this just to prevent any ink going through onto your press. At this point, I realized I didn't test out the tumbler in the press, so I was really bummed about that, but I ended up turning off the press and I found another can glass that is kind of similar in size, and I tested that out. To do that, you just press it down and you want to make sure that it doesn't move at all. You can see my hand back there just testing it out. You also don't want a lot of space at the top. And I actually didn't need to adjust it at all because I think the glass tumbler was the last one I did. I have it heated back up, so now I'm ready to add my tumbler. I just place it right in the center of the press, then I grab the handle and press it down. I'll press this for the full 280 seconds, then I will open it and then I'll turn the tumbler a little bit to make sure it gets the whole side, since there is a little gap at the top there, and I'll press it for another 280 seconds. When I made my tumbler last time, I felt like 280 seconds seems so long. That's around 4 minutes. So I cut the time in half and I still rotated it. So I did a total of 280 seconds. But as you can see, this flower here is bold, but when you see the next one, it's very faded. And when I go over a little bit, there's the butterfly that is also faded. I think the reason for that is it really does need 280 seconds on all sides. So I let that go all the way. Then you can see me open the press and rotate the tumbler a little bit. Then I press it back down and let it run for the other 280 seconds. It's kind of crazy how long it takes. It felt like forever. Once it's done, I open it up and place the tumbler on my heat press mat. Also, you'll want to use heat-resistant gloves as well. I let it cool off for a couple minutes, but I am a very impatient person and I really like to see how it turned out. So I just make sure to use my gloves and I start taking off the butcher paper and the tape. The tape can be kind of hard to take off, but I wouldn't use a weeding tool or anything because the frosted glass could really scratch easily. If you see little white specks on it, don't panic like I did. I just grabbed a washcloth and it came right off. So I think it was just a little bit of the paper maybe stuck on there. I added a bamboo lid and glass straw, and this is how it turned out. I am very happy with the way it turned out. There is no fading whatsoever. The colors look great. I hope this video was really helpful if you are looking to sublimate on these. I'll have all my links down in the description box if you are looking for anything, and I would also love it if you gave this video a thumbs up and if you subscribe to my channel if you are new.